Please stand for the pledge.
Have a nice Thanksgiving.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silent reflection for our servicemen and women throughout the world and for those who have passed away in our community, including Michael Mitchell and Jack Granahan. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Smurl?
Here.
Mr. Schuster?
Present.
Dr. Rothchild?
Here.
Mr. McAndrew?
Present.
Mr. King?
Here. Please dispense with the reading of the minutes.
Third order, 3A, correspondence received November 6, 2023 from the Business Administration regarding budget transfers for City Council and DPW refuse. 3B, Single Tax Office City Funds Distributed Comparison Report 2022-2023 received November 8, 2023.
Are there any comments on third order items? If not, received and filed. Do any council members have any announcements at this time?
I have two quick ones. So tomorrow, Friday, November 10th, it's Veterans Day. And over at the Victor Alfieri's, they're doing a fantastic thing for our veterans. They're having a free luncheon. Or not, well, actually dinner, I should call it, because it starts at 4 o'clock. It's free to all veterans, so and they want to thank everybody for their service, that's fantastic. And then the police department is, they're going to have their annual toy drive. And please drop off a new unwrapped toy to Scranton Police Headquarters, which is on 100 South Washington Avenue, by December 11th. Scranton Police Department will be distributing the toys to the children in need in Scranton in time for Christmas. Thank you very much in advance for supporting this very worthy cause. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McAndrew. Anyone else?
I think this one was announced maybe last week, but the Ukrainian Veterans Club on Railroad Ave is also having a Veterans Day celebration Saturday, November 11th. It's going to be from 7 to 10, and they're going to have entertainment there that night. So that'll be their celebration for Veterans Day this weekend. That's all.
Any other members? I'd like to take this time to congratulate Mark McAndrew, Dr. Jessica Rothchild, and Jerry Smurl. Congratulate them on their victories the other evening to serve 4 more years on this council. Be thrilled to work with you for the next 2 years, so congratulations.
Fourth order, citizen participation.
Michael Mancini.
Good evening, Council. Mike Mancini, resident of the City of Scranton. First thing I wanted to talk to you about this evening is the election. Congratulations to each of you who were up for re-election and actually won. I want you to reflect on the amount of time they actually spent on this council and the amount of time that you're going to be spending over the next 2 or 4 years and what you envision with the city. Now, and then I'd like for you to do this after citizen participation. I wrote a list of things that are, in my opinion, very important. One of them would be a tax increase. Obviously, nobody likes to have their taxes increased. My envision of NAOG, the sales of the parking and sewer authorities, my take on nonprofits, and then also the road and blight. First thing I want to talk about is the tax increase. I sat here prior to this, I heard from several people from the administration. One of the things I heard was $62,000 in overtime for the Parks Department. Now it's, that was in 2022. Projected for the end of this year is $198,000 in Parks overtime. Now, I looked at the projected for next year. You don't even have any projections for that. They also wanted to open up Weston Field, which is a great idea, pre-COVID. It's one of our jewels here, so I'd like to see that open, but it has to be budgeted properly, so this doesn't happen again. You see a 300% increase. Some departments you saw 700%. And it's unfair to the citizens and taxpayers of the city of Scranton. Now, and that's simply because of mismanagement on part of the administration. One of the things that I didn't see here was, for next year, was the Neog Park complex. There was 12 different plans, Fellows Park, Clover Field, to name a couple. Nothing there from Neog, all right? That's the crown jewel of the city. And I think it has a lot of historical value, and I truly feel that it needs to be brought back to its historical nature. For somebody to sit here and pat themselves on the back that all parks and pools are open, no, they're not. Arrogance becomes your downfall. Arrogance, leaving dirt in a pool for 4 years, changes the future of our kids, all right? Now, another thing I want to talk to you about is nonprofits. In February of this year, most of you, or probably all of you, don't know that the PA Hospital revoked property tax elimination as a warning shot to other nonprofits, all right? This is March 13th, 2023, Spotlight PA, State College. Commonwealth Court recently revoked Southeastern Pennsylvania Head Hospital property tax exemption, denied appeals regarding 3 others, decisions that one expert said should serve as a warning shot to nonprofits. And here's the reason how it came about. There's 5 different standards according to the state Supreme Court Code of 1985. Advances as a charitable purpose. I don't see Geisinger really doing that. I don't see Regional doing that. I don't see the University of Scranton doing that. Donates or renders graciously substantial portion of its services, benefits substantial and infinite class of person who are legitimate subjects of charity. Believes the government of some of its, relieves the government of some of its burden, operates entirely freely from private profit motives. Now, the CEOs of each one of these get millions and millions of dollars. So these things I think are very important. I'd like to have your input after citizen participation. As far as road and blight, bring back the public safety director. Put code enforcement through the public safety director, make it separate. Allow them to answer to fire and police, DPW. When you have more eyes on something, more stuff gets accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mancini. Les Spindler.
Evening, Council. Les Spindler, city resident, homeowner. I too want to congratulate everybody who won Tuesday. It was a great day for Democrats, not only here in the city, but the whole state of Pennsylvania and other parts of the country. Just one quick remark. Last week, Channel 16 had a poll, or they talked about a poll that said if the election was today, Donald Trump would beat Joe Biden. But from looks of what happened on Tuesday, what President Biden said after he saw all the results, he said, you know what? Polls don't vote, people vote. And I think people sent the message on Tuesday. That's all I'm going to say on that. Walking around my neighborhood with my dog, when the people put their blue recycle cans out with cans and bottles, I noticed a lot of stuff that's in those containers that aren't supposed to be in there. They put food containers in, which they're not supposed to. They keep bottle caps and lids on the containers. And so I was thinking, when the city sends those cards around every year with the schedule, if they can maybe put a reminder on there, like what people are supposed to do, like don't put food containers or caps and bottles. I just thought that might help, because I know I was here a couple of years ago when the recycle coordinator was here, and she said bottle caps and lids, they jam the machines. And it, you know, they put a lot of them in it takes time to take all them off. So if they could send some a reminder, I think it's a good idea. I see we're gonna have a 3.5% tax hike. Not thrilled with that, but we have another tax hike in a few years. I mean, the one year Chris Doherty raised our taxes 58%, which was unbelievable. But I think every couple of years, I think we do need a tax hike, so it, you don't have to raise it 58%. So I'm not really against that. Bob Bolus and I just questioned the mayor why the Ukraine of Israeli flags weren't up. And she said, well, they had the Ukraine flag up when the war started. And she said, with the Israel flag, it's a tough time, it might cause trouble, blah, blah, blah. I said, oh, if people want to protest, let them protest. If they get out of control, throw them in jail. She kept going saying, it's a tough time, it's a tough time. So I think it's wrong, but I don't think she's going to put it up. Another thing, she talked about the parks. She said the city owns the parks. Do they own the Trip Park softball complex? Does anybody know? Do they? Okay, here's a question. The people that run the leagues down there, they're locking the gates so nobody else can get in there after the leagues are done. Do they have authority to do that?
That they may. I'm not really sure. I know down at Sloan they do the same thing, and then people that are taking care of the fields and maintaining the fields have access to the key, so I would imagine that they do.
I know why they're doing it, because a lot of people used to walk their dogs there and not clean up after the dogs. And I was one of them, but I always cleaned up. I took a shovel with me and I cleaned up after everybody else's dogs. My dog never went in there. My dog goes in my yard. But yeah, I was just curious if they could do it, because, you know, kids want to go over there and play. You know, if there's no leagues going on, why can't kids go in there and play baseball themselves? If the city owns it, I don't think they should be able to lock people out.
I think that has to do with the lease agreement they were leaning to, they were speaking of earlier. That you actually, you know, you take ownership of it when you lease it, so. Yeah. I think with regards to maybe liability, I'm not sure, we can get that question clarified, but I'm just thinking out loud as with regards to what they said earlier.
Okay. All right, that's all I have tonight, but I think it would be nice if council talked to the mayor about putting that Israeli flag up, because I don't think it would cause any trouble. And if it does, lock the people up that are causing the trouble. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Spindler. Lenny Cerebro.
Good evening, Council. Lenny Cerebro, Geyser Valley. Last week we talked about somebody was going to call somebody and get a timeline on that Briggs Street 24-inch pipe. Did anybody get an answer?
So we just got an answer tonight. We were under the impression, now when we came down and met, we were under the impression that there was a meeting on that Friday. And when we got our answer back, there was never a meeting on Friday with the city, so I'm not really sure where that information came from. But as of tonight, and in some of the answers we received, they're going to wait for the city administration said they're going to wait for the plan to roll out before they address that pipe.
So it's another waiting game, right?
That's what it sounds
Just
like.
no answer.
But guess what? They said there's going to be a meeting in the beginning of December that you guys will be informed about to talk about it, so.
Okay, that's another thing I wanted to talk about. Now, Mr. Schuster, you were asking about, wasn't there a meeting, you know, at the Geyser Valley Community Center Same thing. I didn't know that what was going on. Could we just make sure that I understand that there's going to be another meeting like that in December to let the neighbors know the progress, what's going on. Make sure we know, like nobody knew about that October that you
We
asked
specifically
about.
asked the mayor that tonight. We said, please let us know the date and let's make sure it's
Okay.
advertised.
All right, yeah.
So just to start off, though, the week after the flood, I specifically asked the mayor to start a task force and to reach out to the neighbors and get some of the neighbors on that task force, and it was decided to do pop-ups instead. I felt like getting a task force together with the neighbors would have been more beneficial to the neighbors with communication rather than the pop-ups, but they went with the pop-ups. So I'm glad to hear that there is a meeting coming in December. I would suggest that it's at the Kaiser Valley Community Center and that the neighbors are
Okay.
contacted.
Well, you know what? That was another thing I wanted to suggest. Maybe we could have a certain person to make the contact with the neighbors and what's going on with the flood protection. Okay. You know, today, one of the neighbors there had to call DPW to get the storm drain opened up at his place. You know, we haven't had much rain lately, and for that storm drain, you know, at the corner of his lot to get plugged up again since the cleanup back in September, that kind of tells you something about the drainage system. That DPW had to come and flush that out. I don't know where the mud was coming from, but they had to come and take care of that. Okay. I noticed they're doing a lot of work in the pump house. Do you know what they're doing there? I did ask one guy going by. He said they're putting in a new control panel. You know, but then I didn't know anything after that. He didn't know what to tell me either. So could we find out what's getting done there with that pump house?
Mr. Voldenberg, if you could reach out to the administration, try to find out exactly what improvements are being made to that pump house. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I know they were in there working, replacing stuff, but I don't know anything after that. That's all I got for tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Shrebro. Virgil Argenta.
Congratulations to the winners. Let's see how well we get represented. Any idea how many vacancies there are in the police department? The budget has city funding for 4 patrolman positions. We all know it's a lot more than 4 that we need. The city recently did away with its current testing for the police officers and went with a third-party national testing network company in the hopes of getting more applicants. Do we have a total number of applicants that took the test? Was it explained to the applicants that the city was only budgeting for 4 officers before they paid the $55 test fee? There was also a hardship scholarship available that would waive the testing fee. Do we have a total number of the scholarships that were provided? Do you have any comparison in the number of applicants the old testing attracted versus the number of applicants the new testing attracted? Are you aware of any issues with the National Testing Network test scoring? In the minutes of the meeting for the Civil Service Commission of August 1st, 2023, there was an issue. It states, to progress with the candidates who scored 70% of a weighted score, it is noted that the weighted scores weren't incorporating the written exam. So there was a motion made to schedule a special meeting so that Solicitor Owens can speak with NTN representatives, inquire what the scores actually mean and how to fix it, and report the findings back to the commission and to the Scranton Police Department. So is it fair to assume there is an issue with the new testing company? Everything the city changes and tries to do is a disaster. Did it affect any of the candidates negatively or positively? and what is being done to clarify the issue so it doesn't happen again. Now that the testing for the police department is done by a third-party testing company, will the Civil Service Commission still be overseeing hiring of the police? Also, back in May, one of the board members, Ms. Garcia, announced that she would be resigning in June. Since that resignation, has the administration filled that board seat? As of the last meeting, it was still vacant. I filed a right to know regarding city vehicles. During the appeal process, the city most recently responded and filed a certified copy that stated, as I conducted a thorough examination of files in the possession, custody, and control of the agency for records responsive to the requests underlying this appeal, the city of Scranton, regarding city vehicles, take-home vehicles, who uses them, and an inventory list of city vehicles. The city of Scranton has no existing records regarding all city-owned vehicles, take-home vehicles by employees, and who the employers are. We don't know what vehicles we own. We don't have an inventory list of city vehicles. It is not required by this administration to create a record who does not currently exist, or to compile, maintain, format, or organize a record in a manner in which the agency does not currently compile, maintain, format, or organize the record of vehicles. This is the city's response to my attorney from the Right to Know office in Harrisburg. So maybe tonight we should request that the administration compile a list of all vehicles and drivers with their licenses. So if we have no idea of the vehicles that we own as a city, how are we paying Knowles Insurance? What are we paying a premium for? If the city doesn't know what they own, but Knowles Insurance is insuring city vehicles, what are we paying for? Does anybody have gas cards? There was an issue in the paper last week where we're looking for tires for city vehicles. What city vehicles? Where are we putting the tires? Maybe it's time we have a list of city vehicles and start running the city like a city. You guys have 4 more years. Let's see what you can do. We're not going anywhere. We're going to hold your feet to the fire. Have a good night, guys, and congratulations for winning.
Thank you, Mr. Argento. Ron Elman?
So, Mr. Voldenberg, I've also requested lists of city vehicles, and that was not the same answer that we received, right?
No, we received the answer that it is pending. I'll follow
It's
up.
pending. All right, thank you.
Good evening, Council. I don't know if any of you noticed or care, but I've run into a Rolo shortage. It just absolutely, I can't find them anywhere anymore. Anyway, I've come tonight to complain why this administration deliberately concealed a tax increase of 3.5 after last year's 2%. And then in the same article, there's intentions of 5 new offices in hiring. This is outrageous for the people. You people don't hardly hear the remarks like I do, because you're working and I'm wandering around town like the Sheetz and the dollar store and so on. You know, the school board, in the very same article in the paper, mentioned up to an 8% increase next year. They want to hire new teachers for kindergarten. I guess this is more important. Kindergarten's more important than people having their homes and the families having their homes to this bunch at the school board. Then we have a city full of wealthy cheats hiding under the Pure Charity Act. and all we get out of the mayor, she tells us what she's going to do and doesn't. The last time this was addressed was by Janet Evans, and shamefully, the results were very, very bad. She was told to go to hell by Lackawanna College. They are one of the worst. You remember we gave them money to fix a roof on a building that wasn't even being taxed anymore. That's the kind of government the city's had over and over and over again. Then we got Basiliga in the paper a couple weeks ago. He praised how well the complexes, the apartment complexes are doing. Then the next week, he pleads poverty and wants 10 properties off the tax rolls. Last year, the Electric City garage was reduced from $500,000 to $200,000. It was in, this is just hypocritical. We got this, I believe his name's Tobin, who works for the county, there's assistant. I don't know how he keeps a job. Between him and the school board, they just don't seem to have any interest in the taxpayers. They keep yielding. And you see, you yield to these people, and what happens? One after another, like WNEP, they all just, they don't want to pay their fair share. They want the burden to fall on the rest of us. Then I hear, go vote if you don't like it. Around here, the poll, you try to vote, it's a popularity contest. The man that got the most money for the television commercials and so on can show all these schmoochy pictures of his kids and his wife running around. Then there's some bleeding heart that feels that all this is wonderful. Experience and political knowledge don't mean nothing around here. And that's why we have such a poor, poor administration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ullman. Rick Little.
Hello, Council. Congratulations on the winners this time. I'd like to talk about a street sign thing. Everybody used to talk about street signs. So. About 13 years ago, when I still had a car, because I had to do visitation going to New York all the time, I'm driving down Beach Street, and where it runs into South Washington, and I had heard about, you know, the big thing was The Office and Poor Richard's Pub, and, you know, so I'm driving and I see South Side Bowl, and so I wanted to see, you know, where the office was, you know. So I drive straight, and my car gets stuck on the railroad tracks because the curb goes down. It looks like a street. It's a little bit lit better now that they have the Voodoo place that John Buscaglia built. But, you know, I walked by there the other day. I mean, there should be a sign there because there's lots of streets around here, especially the little alleyways, Kressler Court and everything, where, you know, they're dark, there's nothing there. And my car got stuck on the track, and a train was coming, you know. A train was coming, and I would have lost my car, I would have lost my child, and luckily some good citizens helped me, and a motorcycle cop from Scranton Police Department came and you know, was able to lift my car off the tracks. But this is ridiculous. I mean, 13 years. It looks like you could drive straight, and you can't. And I learned that lesson. Anyway, I'd like to talk about the cartoon world we're living in, you know, with the media and the judicial. Those are the two main problems. The media has been taken completely over. I mean, since 2016, there's a federal agency called CISI, and they have targeted conservatives. All the elections have been run by this thing, and before that, when the NDAA was passed, which is sort of a part of the Patriot Act passed by Obama in 2012, it basically said that anybody on the media can say anything they want, you know, because it's their opinion and they can't be sued for it. And that's why we're watching TV. That's why we're watching, you know, Rachel Levine, you know, coming out, hello, governor, wash your hands, sing happy birthday twice. This is how to survive COVID for 2 years. I mean, they're killing us. They're killing us. And we better get a handle on it. You know, I heard about, you know, on the voting day, certain voting machines in Pennsylvania for the Supreme Court judge were marking yes to no. I don't hear anything about that on the regular media, but I know it's a fact. Government agencies using private contractors. This has become an epidemic, you know, privatized contractors like the inspectors for the code enforcement of Scranton. Oh, we have a private NEIC person. You see ads on the TV every day about Medicare, you know, and I get 30 calls a day, and I ask them, you know, are you from the federal government? No, but I'm a licensed contractor, and, you know, flex cards. And, you know, the target is children and elderly. That's basically it. And I learned that going through the New York State family courts. That's why the schools are most important, because they're not teaching the civics that should be taught, and it's become, you know, a Democrat-Republican thing when that really has nothing to do with it. Same with the American Rescue Act, you know. The Lackawanna County Area Agency on Aging appoints, or the Health and Human Services of Lackawanna County, they appoint Area Agency on Aging to be the go-between handing out the American Rescue Act, the ERAP money. And it's another privatized thing. I mean, if these people in the government can't do the job, they have no business farming it out to all these private entities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Little. James Hogan.
How's everybody doing tonight? My name is James Hogan. I was up here just once before, probably about 6 months ago. I did start an organization, a nonprofit organization helping people. It's called Dark to Light. We love to help people. We've been doing this for about 4 years. I'm here tonight for two reasons, just to ask for your help on two very small things, actually. I believe they're very small, but I can't get anywhere without coming to here. So we just did a big haircut event at NAOG in the summer, and we had a bunch of barbers all over the city come up, and we filled the pavilions, and we just showed love to as many people as we could in the area, you know. Thankfully, the mayor showed up and everything, and you know, she did give me her number and stuff. I don't abuse it, you know. But I'm just like that close to just. I'm not trying to tick anybody off, you know what I mean. But let me just say two things. Weston Field, I'm not sure if that's going to be used again for the emergency shelter, but I'm very involved with that, although, no, I'm not the Keystone Mission, but I have closer relationships with the homeless all over 24/7. But we set up a table there last year, me and a lot of Dark to Light individuals and my son, and we love to spread the message of helping others helps yourself as well, you know. That's a big motto of ours. So we're down there, about 10 of us, and we got the cops called on us for simply trying to spread love. And I just spent my own money on 2 tables, 2 thermoses for hot chocolate, a bunch of soup. We put smiles on everybody's faces going into that building because I know I get phone calls from them all the time. They weren't allowed to drink or eat inside that building. They were only allowed to go in and get warm when it was below 20 degrees. So we go outside to show love to these people, and we get the cops called on us. Marissa Duffy at the time was the Parks and Recreation person. I know it's now Scott Gassenmeyer. I got to meet him. However, over 20 calls and emails to both of them with no response. Last year, Marissa Duffy's the one that came out before they called the cops to Keystone Mission and told me I needed to stop passing out the hot chocolate on the sidewalk of Weston Field. I needed to leave. She said she could help me, though, with just getting a piece of paper signed, because we do it all over the city. We do it at the shelter, we do it at the pavilion, we do it all over. But when we go to the emergency shelter when it's really cold, the Keystone Mission doesn't want us over there, unfortunately. It's a fact. We're not looking for any credit for anything we do. We simply just love helping people, and we just want to be there, to be allowed to stand there, to give them a little bit of something warm before they go to sleep. That's all. So I'm just asking if you guys are aware of any form that Marissa Duffy had said that I could come here to ask for. She said I needed to come to you guys. So on top of that, at the end of the haircut event last year, Mr. Gassenmeyer, I believe his name is, he was setting up a big tent, or a big video screen for a movie, and I got to meet him when I was pulling out all the chairs, and we had such a great talk, and I explained to him what's going on, and I need some help, and, oh, well, I'm your guy, I'm new, I was put in here for this, and this won't happen. Now, I assure you, I'm not trying to get anybody mad, but I've called his office over 10 times in the past 2 months. I've showed up in person. I've written him emails. There's no reason, like, in my eyes right now I'm becoming, like, hurt and a little bit bothered because I love the people that are less fortunate. Like, how are they not important? I'm just being told that he's just busy. He's just busy. I just seen him here. I wasn't going to ask him anything. I just want to do this the right way. How could we continue to try to spread love in this area and help people? How could we do it? We're being stopped, and I'm just asking for just a tiny little bit of help that we need to be able to continue on. I'm trying to prepare myself to go not have the cops called on me this winter. Is there anything that could be done, is my question. Just to simply sign something, which she said there's a paper that could be signed so I could do it legally. Lastly, I wasted too much time on that. There's something that's very sentimental to me and to us, which is Sweeney Beach. And Sweeney Beach is a beautiful area where we've done services with the homeless. We've actually taken many of them and baptized them in the river. But to put church aside, we don't push God on people. We're saving lives off the river, and we're setting them up with a bunch of Christians and good people that come to that area. And I get them to be mentored one-on-one, and we get them up off the river into apartments and into homes. I'm not allowed at Sweeney Beach no more either, and it's hurting us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan. I believe there's some forms that do need to be filled out through the Parks and Recreation Office. Mr. Voldenberg, can we inquire as to exactly what forms would need to be filled out in order for Mr. Hogan and his group to set up at these various places at Weston Field and what have you?
I will, Mr. King. I'll secure the forms and reach out to Mr. Hogan.
Thank you. Bob Bolus?
Evening, Council. Bob Wallace, Scranton. I'd like to start off a bit here with Nayland Park. What I see is the most asinine thing going on, millions of dollars, the stupidity filling the pool in with dirt, when simplicity with test borings, 3-inch, 4-inch holes around the area, dumping some dye in the water, see where it comes out from. And then you seal that area with gunite or a substance similar to it, and you stop the leak. The stupidity that I'm watching here that's taking place up there, you can't even put it in words. When they put a liner in, it was Lake Lincoln. Some of you may remember that. Us old gray-haired people remember that. It was a natural cut. It had fissures in it. In the mines, what did they do before they did? They did test drilling. Test bores, small ones, when they did fill the mines up. So you knew where you were going. That should be done. Talk to your engineers and stop letting them worry about how they're going to rip us off. Let's figure out how we mitigate the cost of what we're doing there. And I could get you people that could do it. I own environmental companies, and we do this when we're trying to find a substance that's leaking, that's a contaminant and stuff. So it's simplicity if you use common sense. There's 2 trailers yet with disinfectant wipes that my fellow Masons and myself have donated. One's still at Weston Field, the other's up in Clark Summit at the firehouse there, number 4, and they're free. People should have take them, use them. That's what they're there for. Everybody that was, how would I put it, impacted by the flood, they're there. Use them to clean up what you need to do. Don't spend any money. They're free. That's what us Masons are about. We're out to help people, and we've done that. Now the flags, which has annoyed the living hell out of me. I was in Florida, but I made sure these flags were ordered. 2 for here, Israeli, Ukraine. The government center, Ukraine, Israel, and the courthouse. I don't want to listen to the stupidity. I've been through all those countries. I've been through Gaza, I've been through Saudi Arabia, I've been in Iraq, Kuwait, Abu Dhabi. I had an office in downtown Tehran. Don't educate us on what these animals have done to people. Remember, Hamas attacked at Israel, not the other way around. Now everybody's getting involved. We're involved in Ukraine. But remember, no matter what uniform you wear, it's an American bullet killing a Russian. Joe Biden's putting us in World War III, whether you believe it or not. He let millions of people come through the borders, terrorists and everything else, and we're going to get hit here. Here are my words. It's going to happen. You haven't been in countries like I have in the past, and it wasn't military-wise, it was business-wise on what goes over there. You think it's a pleasure to see a young girl on a motorcycle screaming for help while her boyfriend's got a rifle in his back by those animals? What kind of life do you think she's going to have if she even survives, or anybody else? We need to fly those flags. This is our city. And I'm here asking tonight, I talked to the mayor, I don't want to hear it's a touchy situation, getting people out. That's going to happen one way or the other, whether they go into Egypt or anywhere else. Hamas attacked it, innocent people. And I don't care what your nationality is, you're a human being. Butchering babies, raping women, murdering people just for the hell of it. You got to deal with the animals. Out here, we flew the flag. You flew the Cuke flag for a month. You flew the black flag for a month. You owned this. We wanted to have a convoy and use the square down here, and we were told we couldn't use it. Yet you had the BLM people down there doing everything they wanted to do. You need to turn around the veteran flag. That flag right there is what America's about. And those flags, veterans' flags, look at all the crosses all across the country, all over the world, those little white flags. Those guys never got a chance to come home. What did these other people that were flying their flags do to honor America? Not a damn thing. They didn't give their lives, they didn't do anything. We need to honor the people. That Washington, D.C. protest, those clowns from the colleges and everywhere else protesting what's going on over in Israel are a joke. Israel should level Gaza and turn it back into the desert is what it needs. And take these people that have done what they're doing and take them to task. Please put the flags up. And let's honor those that are being really prosecuted and persecuted by these animals. Thank you.
Thank you. That exhausts the sign-in list. Is there anyone else who would like to speak before council?
Joan Hodawan at Scranton. Forgive me if I ask questions about things you may have discussed. I got here late because I had a conflicting board meeting. With regard to Mr. Argenta's request for a list of city vehicles, I've seen such a list before, and I'll try to get my hands on it again and make sure that the woman's name is Gracie Franco. She, I guess, is the open records officer for the city. If I get it, I'll make sure she gets a copy so she can forward it to Mr. Argenta. What is the status of the 2022 audit?
Frank, have we heard anything in reference to the Scranton Sewer Authority with I believe it was Attorney Shrive? That's what's holding it up.
No, as of today, the BA's office is still waiting on the opinion from Attorney Shrive on that one change.
Okay.
I'll follow up.
If you could, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think it's time for the BA office to go down kicking some doors. This is unacceptable. The firefighter's contract is still not on the website. It's 219 days. I don't understand how we could be making expenditures with back pay and pay raises and we don't have a written contract. When are we going to have the contract?
We'll keep inquiring, and we ask constantly when that's going to be uploaded.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's back and forth with the union and the city attorneys.
Well, somebody's making a profit, and it's not the taxpayer. There was supposed to be a meeting today with the 3 taxing authorities to discuss possible relief actions for those who were affected by the flood. Did that happen?
That did happen this morning.
Can you brief us in fifth order about the results of that meeting?
Sure.
Thank you. Item 5C, the amendment to the 2023 budget to transfer $850,000 from the contingency account to the police other salary. That, in effect, zeroes out the contingency fund, and apparently it's to cover the arbitration award, and which is back pay and unbudgeted police retirements. If there are unforecasted, unbudgeted police retirements, what is the staffing situation in the police department? Anybody know? That's something you need to look into. Are we going to have to compensate with overtime? Are we budgeted for that? How's that going to affect your 2024 budget calculations? Do we have a safety net financially for that? That's something you might want to ask when you talk budget. And with having no contingency fund left, let's hope we don't have any emergencies between now and the end of the year. And with regard to the proposed 2024 budget, I read in the paper that the mayor said, quote, "We propose a 3.5% real estate tax increase in line with the Pennsylvania Economy League's Act 47 exit plan recommendation of modest annual increases." And she projected that the average residential taxpayer would have their bill increased by $36.33. Now, keep in mind that taxes went up 2% last year. She wanted 3%, you gave her 2%. Let me tell you, this is the exit plan from October of 2021. Let me tell you what PEL did say. Quote, "The coordinator recommends that the city increase its property tax millage rate by 5.1%, 14.8%, and 0.7% in the years 2024 through 2026, respectively, to eliminate the projected operating deficits in those years." Now, if that had transpired, ignoring the 2% last year, you'd have an increase of 20.6% by 2026. It's going to be more than $36.33 if that happens. And also keep in mind, it's not taking into account the school district taxes and the county. You all have a good night.
Thank you, Ms. Soto. Is there anyone else like to be heard?
Tom Coyne, Manuka. First of all, congratulations to all the members of council who are going to be staying. I wanted to address and thank Dr. Rothchild last week for when I had asked about the voting for Geisinger and the change of opinion. She had talked about meetings that she had gone to beforehand, and she offered at that time after the meeting to open up her phone records and her meeting records and let me review them. Though I never considered and expected that she was not at any of the meetings or any of those conferences. I wanted to make it clear that she did offer the transparency to me to take a look at that records, and that's something that I did not expect, did not ask for, but I needed to address the fact that the records were freely offered for me to take a look at, and that's clarity that we've lacked a lot in this government. City vehicles. If you're not tracking them, if the city is not tracking them, doesn't know who takes them home, doesn't know where they go to, doesn't know how much is being used for personal use off the job with the gas cards and not. It seems to me like the city is colluding in federal tax evasion, because anything that's granted to, when those cars go home to employees, that portion of the time that they're used publicly is considered income and revenue for those employees that has to be reported as federal income tax. That's not just we're giving it as a benefit. Whatever percentage of times that the employee has to use them has to be cut out, has to be recorded, and has to be put to the IRS as an extra benefit for the job. Not doing that and not having the records of it is just saying, we want to violate IRS law. So if the city is not compliant and not knowing where any of those vehicles are, you got a serious problem because you're dealing with IRS fraud. We had a comment about the pickleball courts. I would love the pickleball courts to be reduced and maybe off of the splash pad, have an ice skating arena for the winter. Most cities like Philadelphia, they have spring events, summer events, and in City Hall in Philadelphia, they put an ice skating rink out for the people in Center City, even though they have ones down near the river. It would be nice if the park could be used year-round, not just a drive-through in a car to look at Christmas lights, but hey, you know, we had that stand up front where we actually had concessions. You know, ice skating and hot chocolate and having something up there, it would make it look like an actual family park, like something you would want to go to year-round. But I guess we only want it for 6 hours a day, a certain number of weeks for swimming, and then close it down and just pay for maintenance for the rest of the year. We have to tap into the reserves for the budget, and we're looking at a 3.5% real estate increase. It's kind of interesting when you look into the numbers. Well, most of the city administration is getting a 4% to 6% increase before contracts are even done. I see the business administrator needs another raise, but it does not disclose in that document the added pay that she gets from the OEC monitoring that's on top of it. That's not disclosed that she gets a secondary check for those 4 years, bring her to the highest pay. We need to give her another raise on top of that. And even more than that, we have the deputy administrator who gets a 50% pay increase. Not 5, not 10, 50% increase. There's also a question on housing in the city. Where do we house the poor? How do we get them off the streets? Take a line out of Baltimore. Take a line out of the big cities. When someone builds a multi-story dwelling, they have cut out of it in the budget that 10% of that building has to be zoned for low-income housing. So if you're building 1,000 units, 100 of them have to be set aside for low-income, or you don't get to build those buildings. If you want to get the homeless off the street, you've got to put in teeth in there to make people actually force builders who make the money to put some of it back in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn. Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard?
Marie Schumacher. I'd like to talk, not what I planned when I came tonight, but on time management. I think when you guys have a pre-meeting meeting, it should, 5 minutes would be one thing, but going over it by a half an hour and letting people who came, I don't think that's right. I think you should adjourn and pick it up maybe the following week. I'll let you figure it out, but that needs to stop. And then we talked about a month, well, it was on the 10th of October. I brought some signs that were left after construction on East Mountain Road. And Mr. Smurl has told us that they were going to call the code enforcement, and see who pulled the permit for that, so they would be the ones that should be contacted to remove the signs if they're complete. I believe they're complete, but the signs are still there. So what happens next?
I saw the construction companies up on the mountain, I believe 2 days ago, doing patching again, where it had sunk in, where they had put the pipe through, so the signs are up again.
Okay, I think they need to go. Now, get back to one of my favorite things, is stormwater. It's all over the city, but there is a plan, I think, for, well, let me go back. Would you prefer to extend a stormwater pipe to the nearest drain, or if it was like 15 or 20 feet, or would you rather have the DPW come up every day when it's freezing to put salt on the roads? Anybody have any choice?
I mean, are you talking about East Mountain? I don't know where you're referring to.
Okay, I'm talking, okay, it's Snook Street.
Snook Street. Well, there's obviously a huge stormwater study that had gone on. HRG did it. We just had the meeting October 25th up at Howard Gardner, and there's a plan to address Snook Street, East Elm Street.
I know that. I know that. But what I'm saying is now, do you know how much traffic goes across Seymour Avenue? And you've got all of the water that comes down Snook Street and goes down to 307 is from one place. And that, if you go about 15 to 20 feet above where the water is coming out, that stormwater is coming out of the pipe, is a drain that goes in, you know, there are drains on Snook Street and there are not drains, but if 15 to 20 feet, I would think you would prefer to put that, figure out how to get that water into that drain so it goes as it should be, rather than go down and go into ice. I remember last year the ice was 4 or 5 inches.
I'll have to inquire, because I know that they've been working up on Snook Street too. There's a major project going on there, even like that section of mountain or Lake Scranton is closed off because it's all tied in there.
Yeah, they put a road size, yeah, I'm aware of that. But that doesn't solve the water problem that goes on all the time. So I do not know why we can't get somebody up there to get that water that is now going down into a drain, which there's a drain, like I say, 15 or 20 feet away. How much pipe is that?
We can inquire with Mr. Petrofis, if you would, Mr. Voldenberg, ask him why the existing water that's draining on Snook Street, if it can't be tied in with the temporary pipe or something like that.
I'll ask if they could do that work in the interim.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Schumacher. Does anyone else like to speak?
Fifth order, 5A motions.
Mr. Smurl, do you have any motions or comments?
I do not at this time, Mr. King.
Mr. Schuster, any motions or comments?
Yes, I have a couple comments. As we just got a copy of our budget for the new year, we're started off our caucuses here tonight. We had the mayor, we had the BA, we had Parks and Rec, OECD. We're going to start these conversations. Couple things that stuck out right off the bat was this budget this year is very similar to budgets in the past 3 years. We do see pay increases for lots of positions. We do see a tax increase similar to last year. One of the questions was thoughts on the tax increase. My first thought on the tax increase is that we had $50,000 allocated to complete a study on Scranton taxes with the goal of trying to reduce some of the taxes in our city. That money was reallocated to another position, I'd say 2 years ago. I did fight to keep that money dedicated to that study because I would have liked to see that study take place. So this is something I still would like to see. This administration had promised that they would look into studying the taxes in our city and seeing if we could reduce them, and I would like to see that move forward. I did see that Spotlight PA article as well about the nonprofits, and I think I had mentioned it when that came out. But we do see increased salaries, and one thing I want to point out to all the council, I pointed it out for 3 years, we've had 3 years of salary increases. Now this year, we don't have as many new positions as we've had in the past. I think we've had about 10 to 12 for the last 3 years. This year we have 5 to 6, and we do have salary increases. To look at some of those increases, the executive assistant for the mayor, in 2021, we had a 2% increase. Into 2023, we had a 23% increase, and now we're looking at another 3% increase. These are large increases. From 2022 to 2023, we're talking $10,000 increase in salary. We're seeing increases for the IT department. We're seeing increases for the Treasury Department, Code Enforcement, the Law Department that we've adjusted last year. I would suggest that council freezes salaries. I think we've had a lot of increases over the last few years, and that would be my first suggestion on this budget. Mr. King, did you attend the tax relief meeting that occurred today?
Tax relief
Was that
for the
meeting
flood
today?
victims? I
Correct.
did, yes.
Okay. And you'll have an update for fifth order?
Well.
Thank you. That was something I would have liked an invite to, as I am the finance chair. I would have liked to have been involved in that meeting. We did get a question about the police department, and thank you to our officer tonight. The police department has 111 officers currently, but we can go up to 147. We do have a couple positions that do get a stipend from our ARPA funds. We discussed it a little bit tonight in caucus, and I would have liked to have gotten that answer. I know we've had it in the past, but if we could just send a quick email to ask for those handful of positions. I know Jessica Esquire, Eileen Cipriani, and there may be one other. And if we could also include Matt Dominus, because to see what his salary, bless you, to see what his salary breakdown is, because I know there's some funds that he's getting there.
I will, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Voldenberg. Kaiser Valley was brought up tonight, that there would be a meeting in December. I would suggest that the meeting take place at Kaiser Valley Community Center, and I think the point of contact should probably be the president of the Kaiser Valley Neighborhood Association. He did get a tour of the neighborhood together with a lot of the neighbors from down there, and he does reach out to those neighbors. So I think if he was the point of contact, along with having the meeting at the community center, we should be able to get most of the neighbors attending that meeting so they could have direct communication with the administration. I'm sure I have a couple other things that I've forgotten, but that'll be all for tonight, Mr. King.
Thank you, Mr. Schuster. Dr. Rothchild?
Okay, I've got quite a few things I'm going to try to move through quickly. First, one of the biggest things on my list, and what I have been mentioning for quite some time now, has to do with parking for those with disabilities who use a handicap placard or might have signs like that they pay for in front of their homes so that they could park there. I've been receiving complaints from a number of people about it, people who have others parking in those spots who might not have a handicap placard, or those who are parking partially in the spot and not really giving them enough space to be able to utilize that spot. And I know I'd requested a couple weeks ago to Solicitor Gallagher to take a look at that ordinance, which he did and responded to, but I want to see what else we can do with regards to enforcement of that ordinance, maybe evaluating if there needs to be an increase in fines, because people clearly are not taking it seriously, and even if they do get a ticket, they still might be repeat offenders. And I'm also communicating with SPD. I spoke with the chief about this issue too, because it's clearly affecting many residents who need the handicap parking in order to access their properties, and if that's not available to them, then they have to try to walk or get quite a distance to their homes, which might be very difficult if they're using an assistive device. So that's something that is really important to me that I want to continue to work on addressing, and so I've got some ideas about how we can do that moving forward. Another complaint, I've received some updates today, some updated pictures on Front Street over in Southside. It's pretty much in the same state that it was. I know that there were quality of life tickets issued, but I'm wondering now if there's a status with the magistrate, because clearly nothing's been done with that property.
I sent that follow-up out this afternoon, Dr. Rothchild.
Excellent, I appreciate that. And then some updates with regards to some of the paving within the hill section, so particularly Prescott Avenue and then Myrtle. I've been talking to a lot of neighbors about that situation, and I think that is relevant to pave cut issues and other problems that I think need to be addressed in the future. But with those streets directly, for Prescott Avenue, the response we received is that they'll be installing a permanent base within the next 10 days and then an overlay done early December if the weather is good. And we've received several emails stemming back from September, if the weather is good, if the weather is good, and pretty soon it is not going to be good. And so I'm very concerned and worried that those fixes might not take place before the winter, and I want to see what pressure we can put on American Water to make these fixes, because the streets they left them in terrible condition for months on Prescott, and now they're doing the same to Myrtle. And we just received notice of another rate increase with them. So what are we paying for here? I think is the question that a lot of residents have, and rightfully so. And then for Myrtle, they said no overlay will be done until the spring, but not overlay will be done until the spring. Myrtle was addressed recently and will be fixed weekly until permanent restoration can be completed, which still isn't much of an answer. And then the for Prescott, if I'd mentioned too, that base within the next, that was going to be laid within the next 10 days. That was an email from November 2nd. Today's the 9th, so
We'll follow them close, Dr. Rothchild.
3 more days to be able to do that, and I haven't seen any work done there. And we did receive a request for lighting around the area of 600 North Garfield and Pettibone Street, and I know you'd sent correspondence and sent the information on how to obtain a petition for those residents to be able to get a light there. So we appreciate that. And I had received a question with regards to the recycling bins. They went to go pick up some at DPW, and there was a sign that there were no red or blue bins available. So if we could please find out from DPW when they plan on having those recycling containers available for people.
I'll reach out.
And I know this is also the time of year that they have some like leaf bags for residents, so if we could also find out if they have those available for people. I received a complaint about 1219 Jackson Street, and there was a neighborhood cleanup that I had done with NeighborWorks over the summer, and actually Kathy Carrera from our clerk's office, she had joined me and a couple others, and we worked along Jackson Street, right along that area, and I know exactly the property that they're talking about, and it has been just a shame how much garbage and trash and material is there on that property. There are renters there. I think they said someone had gotten evicted, but then the renters that moved in were, just as bad with it. And there's trash along the side of the property that's also blocking a potential fire escape. So they know that there have been, tickets to that property in the past, and I think they mentioned also having gone to the magistrate's office. So I want to see what else we could do to get the problem corrected at that property.
I'll see where they're at on that property.
Thank you. And I didn't see any response there were some requests over in Green Ridge for crosswalks. Did we receive anything and I missed it?
Nothing as of today.
Okay, can we check in again?
It was reported and requested, but I'll follow up.
Okay, because we're also running out of time for painting crosswalks, so I'd like to see if we could get a response on that. And I'd mentioned in caucus when we had them presenting about Cloverfield that I received a complaint that there was a tractor-trailer driver that drove onto parts of the grass at Cloverfield, so I want to get Parks and Rec out there, which I did inform Mr. Gassenmeyer, so that they can take a look and see what damage there is from that vehicle. That's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rothchild. Mr. McAndrew?
Okay, so I have 2 things. So with regards to caucus in the first budget meeting, I agree with Mr. Schuster. So there should be a pay freeze this year. And I'm not talking about the contractual obligations. I'm talking about the same people that every year, or employees that when it's presented to us, get large raises or propose large raises. Some not even here a year, some 6 months. And we're told, they need more money. How are we going to retain them? That hasn't been effective either, because it's still a revolving door. So that's not working. And when these salaries are listed, it's not total compensation. It might say 50 here, 70 here, 90 here. You have to add $30,000 to that with bennies. So it's been the biggest point of contention with me, because last year there was 12, the administration wanted 12 new positions, and that equated, and substantial raises for a select few, that equated to the same, and numbers don't lie, that equated to the tax increase. Same amount. Scary, isn't it? So we just got this draft budget. I didn't take a deeper dive. I want to run the numbers again and see how it reflects the increases that are being asked for. I just think, we've given, we all agreed, or I thought we agreed, to incremental raises, and then, if need be, incremental tax increases to stay out of Act 47. it's not, these raises aren't incremental. We've given substantial ones, more than the national average the past 4 years. Right? So that's the issue I have. So to reel it back a little bit, I'd also be in favor of a pay freeze. Okay, and then next, so I received a couple questions from actually the residents, and then we also got an email from City Controller about the towing contract. It expired 10/31. So, and it's a 15 vendor towing contract. So, you know, Mr. Voldenberg, could you please find out, is it going to be put out to bid again? I only remember getting renewed, but I think at this point, it probably should go out to bid. And could you inquire about that and see what the plan is for that? Instead of some type of emergency legislation that we have to hurry up and renew this contract, you know, because of, I don't know, reasons that will be presented to us and maybe we don't agree with.
I'll ask those questions, sir.
All right, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McAndrew. I have a few responses. Norma Jeffries, the leaf truck is out daily and primarily following the paper and cardboard recycling schedule. Leaves are placed out in bags, are also picked up during paper and cardboard recycling schedule. The street sweeper is in use and primarily follows the trash pickup schedule. Dolores Barker, in response, the unit block of Hertz Court was reviewed by DPW, pave cut inspector, and city project manager, and will have the roadway patched to a safe level. In terms of the budget, this is an introduction, you know, asking for 3.5%. Now, we all have to go to work and dive into this budget and take a look at it and make suggestions as to what we think, you know, differentiate between needs and wants, and then ultimately, you know, come back to the mayor and say, here's where we're at. Here's what we can live with. Here's what we think is reasonable. I know that this council, we asked for 2 new positions, you know, to deal with, you know, trash in the city and picking up in the, you know, throughout the city, and I think it's greatly needed. So those are certain things that I'd like to see stay in the budget. In terms of Naog Park, Mr. Mancini, I know that the funding for Naog Park, we're looking at some LSA money, I think about $1 million there. We're looking at, I think, $3 million of ARPA funds and applying for a RACP, $3 million RACP to use as the match to help pay for that project. But that is the funding. I mean, the ball is rolling on that project, and we sent to the mayor what our suggestion was, what we'd like to see with the 2-pool option, and in fact asked what the difference would be between the 6-lane pool and expanding it to 8 lanes, so it'd be a larger pool. So we'll be waiting to hear back from them on that as well. Okay. In terms of you mentioned that lawsuit, and I found that interesting, that that hospital was originally a nonprofit, and then the courts decided that it wasn't. That's why we're doing that HUP test, and we hired that company to go out and take a look at that. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware, but Regional and Moses Taylor are both for-profit. They came back on the tax rolls probably about, I think, around 2012, 2013, somewhere in that range. Geisinger is not. So hopefully, when they go through and do this HUP test, they may determine that when some of these nonprofits originally applied for tax exempt, maybe they're not meeting the original mission when they applied for it. So the hope is that maybe some of those will no longer be renewed as nonprofit and have to start paying taxes moving forward. That's the hope. I know that Dr. Rothchild mentioned the Pennsylvania American Water Company. We got an email today from one of our residents, I think it was Faye Faranis. She indicated that she received something in the mail today I don't get my mail until 6 or 7 at night, so I don't know if I got it yet. But I know that we sent a letter last time, but it was too late because the tax increase had already happened. But if we're getting notice now that they're looking to do an increase, now's the time that we should be fighting it. So we'll look to do that, and I want to research that a little bit further. So I'm not sure if everybody has received those notices. I didn't get one yet, or maybe I did today, I don't know. But now's the time to attack it before the tax increase goes up. And I did meet today, myself, the mayor, the business administrator, the acting superintendent of Scranton School District. It was also Chris Chermak, county commissioner, and Debbie Dominic had stopped in as well to talk about tax relief for those stormwater victims. Generally, it seemed like all three taxing bodies were interested in providing relief. The question's going to be, especially, trying to determine exactly who gets the tax relief and who doesn't. I believe that everyone is on the same page in terms of if homes were condemned, I think that one, absolutely. I think all three taxing bodies are in agreement on that. They want to go back and have their solicitors look over it to make sure we have the authority to be able to do that. I don't see why we wouldn't. That is an ongoing conversation, but the hope is that we can move on that in the next couple weeks, because the goal would be to provide the tax relief going into 2024. Since the vast majority of 2023 is over with, and I know that happened on September 9th, so over 8 months of the 2023 taxing year. It would be very difficult to try to go back on 2023, but at least moving forward for those condemned properties, I believe all three taxing bodies are absolutely interested in providing tax relief for those victims who lost their properties. And I know that the council and the city is also offering that $5,000 funds available through the Scranton Area Foundation would be the ones that would the applications go through. So hopefully, I think Eileen Cipriani indicated today, I think 93 applications were submitted so far for the, up to $5,000. Some people may have submitted 3,300, I don't know, 4,000, 5,000, what have you, but hopefully that will be a pretty quick and streamlined process so that those people can get relief that have had to replace boilers or whatever they had to do. So that's all I have at this time.
Could I ask one more thing, Mr. King? Mr. Voldenberg, today I was told by the mayor that council received the substantially damaged list or substantially damaged report of the addresses of the properties that were affected by the storm. She said that I received it on the 2nd of November. It wasn't something I was aware of. Do you know if we received a list of affected properties?
We did receive a listing today, a number of lists regarding condemned and damaged properties, but I'll check the November 2nd.
I was looking through it now, and I don't see that list, but we did get a list today.
Today, we have a number of lists, and it might be in that group.
All right, thank you.
I received the list at the meeting today.
Okay, we didn't receive one on the 2nd of November, though, right?
I don't recall.
I don't believe so.
All right, thank you.
5B for introduction, an ordinance appropriating funds for the expenses of the city government for the period commencing on the first day of January 2024 to and including December 31st, 2024 by the adoption of the general city operating budget for the year 2024.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion item 5B be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second?
On the question? All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5C for introduction, an ordinance amending file to council number 33, 2022, an ordinance as amended entitled General City Operating Budget 2023 to transfer $850,000 from contingency account number as noted to the police other salary account number as noted to cover an arbitration award and replenish the account due to unforeseen, unbudgeted police retirements.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion item 5C be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second?
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5D for introduction and ordinance, amending file to council number 211 of 1990 to update relevant citations for statutory authority and reauthorizing the mayor and other appropriate cities of the city of Scranton to join with other local government units as a settler of the Pennsylvania Local Government Entrustment Fund for the purpose of purchasing shares of the trust.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5D be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second?
On the question,
On the question, Frank, can we reach out to the administration and just ask for an explanation of 5D? I read it over several times and really couldn't make heads or tails of it.
I will, sir.
Thank you.
all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5E for introduction, a resolution authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a contract with Dunmore Roofing to perform roof and masonry restoration for the city of Scranton City Hall.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5E be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second?
On the question, all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5F for introduction, a resolution, reappointment of Michael Burke to the Housing Appeals Board as an alternate member for a 5-year term to expire November 24th, 2028.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5F be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5G for introduction, a resolution, reappointment of Brian Lenahan, Esquire, as a member of the Scranton Public Library Authority for a 4-year term and will expire on July 31st, 2027.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5G be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second?
On the question, all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5H for introduction, a resolution, reappointment of Alexander Latordo as a member of the Human Relations Commission for a 5-year term to expire on October 18th, 2028.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5H be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second?
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5I for introduction, a resolution, reappointment of Michael McDermott as a member of the Housing Appeals Board for a 5-year term to expire November 24th, 2028.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5I be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5J for introduction, a resolution, appointment of Maureen McGuigan as a member of the Scranton Public Library Authority for a 4-year term and will expire on August 13th, 2027.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5J be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second?
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5K for introduction, a resolution, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a contract with Blue Strike to perform consulting services for the City of Scranton's Climate Action Plan.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion item 5K be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second?
On the question,
On the question, Frank, could we reach out to the administration and ask what the goal of this action plan is? And is it only going to be for city operations, or is it something that they're going to develop an action plan that's going to be used to regulate business and residents in the city?
I'll ask those questions, sir.
Thank you.
Also, it looks like some of the backups missing. I don't see any of the affidavits or anything attached. I looked through it twice. Unless I'm missing them, probably just ask them to include that.
So if we could ask for that as well.
I will.
Thank you, guys.
all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5L for introduction, a resolution amending Resolution Number 292, 2023, a resolution entitled Ratifying and Approving the Execution and Submission of the Grant Application by the City of Scranton Department of Public Works to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development Local Share Account, Monroe, for up to $250,000 to be used for the project to be known as the City of Scranton Rock Salt Facility, to strike the term of $250,000 and replace the same with $315,000.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion on item 5L be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5M for introduction, a resolution authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a contract with Borton Lawson Engineering, Inc. to perform City of Scranton's request for North Scranton Stormwater Engineering Services.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5M be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question,
On the question, very similar to the NAOG pool contract that we got into in 5M and also in 5N. It's being conducted the same way. So we're agreeing to both Phase 1 and Phase 2. So we're saying that Phase 1 is not to exceed $74,000 and change, but we're agreeing to a Phase 2, and it's stated in the backup documentation that we're going to negotiate the price of Phase 2. So could we please reach out to the administration and ask them what their plan is for negotiations of this and why council should be approving this contract without the pricing and plan for Phase 2. And also something I want to point out is there's a couple actions and events that go along with this. One was a kickoff meeting with the city that happened on the 10th or the 26th of October. So the contract's in front of us today. It's the 9th of November. They've already had a kickoff meeting with the city on the 26th of October. They've also done study and data collection that was occurring today, the 9th. And then there's going to be a stakeholder meeting on the 13th, which is in a few days. And so it looks like there's a couple actions that are already taking place by the city on some of these contracts that haven't even come through council yet.
I'll ask those questions, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Voldenberg.
I have the same issue. How do you negotiate the second phase of a contract when you have a contract? I've never seen anything like that before in my life. I mean, contracts are binding and the costs are clear. So please, before the final passage, we get some type of explanation.
yeah, we definitely need to have
It's nonsense.
an explanation of that. I would like to introduce it, though, to get the ball rolling on this, but because obviously stormwater issue is a big issue, but that is important. So if we can get some answers on that, at least we'll get it introduced. And if we don't get the proper answers, we can always table it at the next level.
I will, Mr. King.
Thank you.
I agree. I think those are all valid concerns, although I would like to see it move quickly, and I hope we get a quick response because, as we know, with stormwater, it's been like a ticking time bomb to the next flood. So I want to see us be able to get those engineering services as soon as possible, but we certainly need those answers.
One more thing I'd like to add. I know Mr. McAndrew brought it up earlier in regard to the towing contract. He said, we don't want to see something come in as an emergency action that we have to take and being put behind the 8 ball, if you want to use that term. So something here, we had a West Mountain stormwater study. It was done 3 years ago. We took our time moving on it, and we had an emergency situation that affected a lot of people. If these things come through in a timely manner and we get responses to our questions in a timely manner, we won't be in an emergency situation. And I don't ever want to see council deciding on things based on an emergency that's at hand. So if we could please get answers on these before final passage in 7th order, that would be great.
All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5N for introduction, a resolution authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a contract with Borton Lawson Engineering, Inc. to perform City of Scranton's request for Manuka and West Scranton Stormwater Engineering Services.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion item 5N be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second?
On the question, I think we all agree we want the same answers.
Yeah, so
Same language.
just an additional question here. These are two different RFPs. One, I think, had 4 people that bid on it, and this one had 5 that bid on it. The last question I'd like to ask is, in accepting the bid, there is a 10% possible savings if both projects are completed by this company. Was that something that was taken into consideration when we accepted the bid?
I'll ask that, sir.
Thank you.
All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it and so moved.
Sixth order, no business at this time. Seventh order, 7A, for consideration by the Committee on Public Works for adoption, filed to Council number 94, 2023, ratifying the execution of another set of time-sensitive temporary construction easement agreements between the affected City of Scranton property owners and the City of Scranton to complete the Federal Emergency Management Agency projects in accordance with FEMA debris removal construction plans, which are to be completed by the deadline of December 31st, 2023.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Public Works?
As chairperson on the Committee of Public Works, I recommend final passage of item 7A.
Second?
On the question.
On the question, I know that we did get some of our questions from last week and the week before. I think we got some of the answers sometime today. Did we, and you might not know this offhand, did we get a list? I know I asked when this was coming through 5th and 6th order. Did we get a list of the FEMA projects that are yet to be completed, those that are pending, and those that have yet to be started?
I did not see that list in the group, sir.
All right, thank you.
I'll follow up.
If we could request for that one again, thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7A legally and lawfully adopted.
7B, for consideration by the Committee on Rules for adoption, Resolution Number 324, 2023, amending Resolution Number 113 of 2022, appointment of Andrew T. Lazella, Ph.D., as a member of the Board of Ethics to correct an administrative error in the term length from August 31st, 2027 to August 31st, 2025.
As chairperson of the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7B.
Second.
On the question.
On the question, I wanted to mention this previously. When these pieces of legislation come down to us, they need to be the proper terms for them to come back to us, so that we need to make corrections again. I mean, this is not the first time this has happened, so I think it's kind of frustrating that they're bringing these appointments to us but don't have the correct amount of years for their terms. I think that should be
And I'd like to make a comment on that one. So this one, I think we could thank Mr. Voldenberg for picking up on this one. I did check the city's website. I think it brings up 2 issues. The 2 issues are the city's website isn't up to date. This individual's term had expired in 2022 or 2020, like it was far past the end of his term. When I brought it up to Mr. Voldenberg, he realized that when he went back through the legislation was incorrect. So we got incorrect legislation that didn't go along with the charter of the board. Correct, Mr. Voldenberg?
That's correct.
So the law department sent us down legislation that had the wrong term. So I think the law department should be going through their documents, and they should be 100% correct before they get to council.
Agreed.
Agree. This is a once in a while. It's quite a bit.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7B legally and lawfully adopted.
7C, for consideration by the Committee on Rules for adoption, Resolution Number 326, 2023, appointment of Robert Soffinelli as a member of the Civil Service Commission, filling the unexpired term of Karen DeSantis, who resigned.
As chairperson for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7C.
Second.
On the question, I would say on the question, the one thing I don't see on here is when Karen DeSantis' time was supposed to wrap-up. Is that listed back here?
I think it said it last week, though, didn't it?
Did it?
I think so. No?
It says that in the backup, but it's not in the legislation. Oh, no, it is. Pardon me. First paragraph.
Oh, is it in there?
It says will coincide with Mayor Cognetti's
Okay.
term.
Yeah, we don't want to pass this and have another amendment
Right,
come through.
right. Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7C legally and lawfully adopted.
Eighth order, 8A, filed to council number 64, 2023.
This ordinance has created an overtime reporting requirements for all city departments and employees. It's been tabled until we receive additional information from the administration.
8B, filed to council number 91, 2023.
This ordinance established permit parking in the 800 block of Olive Street. It's been tabled until further discussion and review.
Mr. King, with item 8B, the permanent parking on 800 block of Olive Street, I did ask that my fellow council people table this last week to, in order for us to reach out to the church that's located there. I did reach out to the church. We did discuss their parking situation, their two lots and the odd side of this street, and it would only be a minimal amount of spots, so I think we got the information that we needed.
Would you like to see that reintroduced next week?
I would like to reintroduce that for next week.
We will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
8C, resolution number 320, 2023.
This resolution is an easement between PPL Electric Utilities and the city for properties located along Amelia Avenue. It's been tabled until more information is received regarding planned infrastructure. I'm trying to get together some questions that we want to forward to PP&L so that we can get some answers before we consider this.
I thought we just received something on that today, am I correct?
We did receive some information.
Okay, I didn't have a chance to
I didn't get a
review it
chance
yet.
to review it. It was late in the afternoon.
Okay, great,
Okay.
thank you.
8D, resolution number 323, 2023.
This resolution is a contract with Clerk to perform review of non-taxable properties for the city. It's been tabled until additional information is received. If there's no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Meeting's adjourned.